Good morning, everyone. Okay, we're gonna let everyone start trickling in. And I just wanna say hi to everyone. My name is Clara Aguilar. I am the marketing manager for Orders in Seconds. I am your webinar organizer and co-host today. How is everyone doing today? Let me know in the chat. You guys can chat. Great. Where are you tuning in from? Let me know. Okay, I know we have a lot of OIS customers in the house today, and we have a lot of Fourlane attendees, just a lot of attendees to this webinar today. Let me know, how you guys doing, Heather, Jamie? How you guys doing? Great. Frank, our speakers are doing great. All right, guys, and now while you guys are doing that, I'm just gonna do a quick tech check. Can everyone hear me well, and can everyone see my screen? Just write yes in the chat if you can. Hey, Vivian, I see your hand raised. All right, everyone can see me. I see you. Okay. Hey, Felipe. Hi, guys. All right, guys. Well, we have a very extra special treat for you today. Orders in Seconds has partnered with Fourlane, with the people at Fourlane, who are the #1 QuickBooks solution provider since 2010, and AKA QuickBooks experts, okay? The reason we joined forces with Fourlane today is because Orders in Seconds has many customers who use QuickBooks solution. Some of them struggle with their inventory management. Some of them are aware of the QuickBooks solution, but maybe don't know if it's the best for their manufacturing or distribution business, right? Which is why we partnered with Fourlane, because they have the experience with working with many distributors and manufacturers in the food industry, and they've helped them manage their QuickBooks solutions successfully, right? So now that you guys know a little bit more about why OIS and Fourlane has put this webinar together just for you, let's go ahead and talk about today's speakers. All right, today's speakers who are joining us are Lori Walsh. She is a Fourlane partner and a QuickBooks expert. She is going to be answering all the common questions we've received from our OIS customers who need help managing their inventory in QuickBooks Online and Desktop. All right, to let you guys know a little bit more about Lori, she's worked with customers in many different industries, including e-commerce, manufacturing, and retail. She has more than 30 years experience in account management, in accounting and management, with a master's degree in business administration from Ashford University. Lori is an Intuit Certified ProAdvisor with advanced certification in QuickBooks Enterprise and QuickBooks Time. So a very big thank you for being here today, Lori.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, and then we have her co-host, Frank Monterrosa, which you guys all know and love, our OIS Product Specialist. He'll be assisting with answering these questions, right, regarding the the inventory management, as well as, how the integration works with our mobile solutions, our OIS mobile solutions. And so you guys know a little bit more about Frank too. He's graduated and earned his bachelor's degree in marketing and advertising. He's participated in many leadership and entrepreneurship courses with more than 15 years experience in marketing, customer service, and sales. He currently manages the US and Latin American markets for Orders in Seconds. So let's give them a big welcome. And we're going to do this by whoever has their camera on. You're going to wiggle your fingers in front of the camera. And this is a big round of applause for our speakers. And you guys can write in the chat too. Let's show our speakers some love right now. All right. And what's on the agenda for today? Lori is first going to be talking about inventory best practices. Like we said, she's going to be answering the frequently asked questions our OIS customers have. She's also going to be talking about the best QuickBooks solutions for your business, right? And then Frank is going to be speaking about how QuickBooks integrates with the OIS solution and how better inventory management, right, helps you with the faster order processing. And lastly, we're going to have a special gift for everyone who attended this webinar today. So make sure that you guys stay till the end. You guys don't want to miss it. And we're going to have a live Q&A too with the speakers today. So if you guys have any questions regarding inventory, regarding your business, if it's very specific, make sure you stay for the Q&A. And if you guys also, while, during the presentation, if you guys had any questions that just come up, make sure to write it in the chat, because we'll go ahead and read it out during the live Q&A as well, okay? So next, these are the questions basically that our OIS customers have had and that Lori's going to be answering today, and Frank is going to be assisting her with asking these questions as well. So I'm going to hand it over to Lori right now, okay? Go ahead, Lori.
So some of the things that we want to talk to you about, right, to be able to determine which product is best is what are we trying to do? Do we need inventory? Do we need multiple sites? And in those multiple sites, how do we need to move the inventory around? Do we need serial numbers? Like food and medical, right? They are going to need those lot numbers. Some of them need serial numbers if it's like something with automotive. So those questions can help us determine the best product that you're going to need. And then also it helps us to get to know kind of what you're doing on your side and the pain points. That also allows us that ability to right suit for the product that you're going to need.
Excellent. Lori, now that you are on the first question, look, I'm really excited about this because many of our customers have been asking us, hey, why you don't give us a webinar about the about QuickBooks? And just to ask you a frequent question that I've been asked in the past is, if I have a distribution company that buys and sells finished products, which is the right QuickBooks for me? Is it the desktop? Is it the online? That's the question that we have today.
Mm-hmm. Most of the time, if it's inventory and we're heavy in inventory, we almost always will go with the desktop product, just because the way the inventory is set up in there. Doesn't mean we cannot use the online version, but some of those key factors are going to be, do we have the multiple inventory sites? Do we need multiple units of measure? I know that's something we're probably going to talk about more later, but it's going to be that conversation with the client and just say, what exactly are you needing? Because Fourlane goes with, we want you to be able to make data-driven decisions. And in order to do that, we need to know what data you're either not getting or what result you need at the end, right? And then we can help. But again, most of the time for the inventory, most of our clients are in enterprise.
Perfect. Thank you, Lori. Look, since we deal with a lot of businesses in the food and beverage industry, and normally, these companies deal with perishable products. They must keep track of lots and expiration dates. So if that is the case, QuickBooks will be best, the desktop version?
Actually, Enterprise as of 23, so the newest release has expiration dates in the Enterprise Diamond and Platinum versions. It also allows for lot numbers and serial numbers. So we could definitely help them get those set up, but it will support that in the system without having to have a secondary system, right?
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Lori. Can we move on to the next question? Okay, next question, Lori, that we have is, how do I best set up and organize my inventory in QuickBooks? Add or adjust? Is this supported in the two versions of QuickBooks?
So in desktop, we can do sub items, which is kind of reflected on that top picture. What that allows us to do is kind of like a parent-child, so a sub item under the main item, which allows you to kind of group things together a little more effectively. In online, there are category types. Now, those are a little bit different, but you can still, depending on if you need to pull data out, right? So reports and stuff, both of those will help you. So So we want to make it easy, right, for when somebody's placing an order, for instance, maybe a purchase order, sales order. So understanding like how they need to be grouped together will allow us to determine the best way to put it in here. But usually these two methods are going to be the most effective way.
I see. And how easy is to adjust physical inventory in QuickBooks? Can it be done by importing an Excel file? Usually, this wholesales and distributors, they do, physical inventory and adjust inventory. Is it easy to do it through an import? Or what is the best way to do, I'd say, physical inventory?
Okay, so I'm going to focus on the desktop product because they're a little bit different. So on the desktop product, there are inventory worksheets inside in the report center, which allows them to take physical counts. We can do some imports with certain import tools, or you can do it, manually if you're doing that. The desktop version also supports cycle counts, which allows us to be more on top of our inventory throughout the year instead of always relying on that physical inventory, possibly at the end of the year. In online, there are tools to import there as well. It's just a little bit different.
I see. Thank you, Lori. Look, in regards to this, yesterday I was talking to an existing customer and he was asking me this: when I'm creating a credit memo for product that I return, how does this affect my inventory? Whenever you create a credit memo, does this affect my physical inventory? My inventory?
It can. So anytime we use an item or a product service, so in desktop, it's called an item, and in online, it's called a product service. They're basically the same. But if we set those up as an inventory type, which means I need to know how many of those I have in the system, right? Or how many are on the shelf, whatever our situation is. The minute I put that on a transaction, so transaction would be a credit memo, a bill, an invoice, or a vendor credit, it is going to impact my inventory.
Perfect. That you answered perfectly my question. In following the example of a distribution company, can I assign a warehouse location to each product to facilitate the picking process? Could this be doable on the online, on the desktop version, or just on the desktop version?
Okay, so the desktop allows for multiple inventory sites, at which point when we receive the inventory, we would assign it to that location, which means when we invoice, we pull it from that location. So the invoice, so it would designate a site for each line, basically, so that we know where we're pulling it from. In online, it does not have, at this point, we don't have the capability for multiple inventory sites, but it does maintain an inventory level. We just would not necessarily know, we wouldn't have that ability to designate it by a truck or, this warehouse versus this warehouse.
Excellent. Thank you, Lori. Let's move on to the next question. And the next question is, when I buy cases from vendors, then sell it in units, well, they can sell it in unit in cases. Is this supported by QuickBooks? Because remember, these wholesale distributors are dealing on the daily basis. This is what we call unit of measures. I believe you're buying a specific unit and you're selling in a different unit of measure. Is this is QuickBooks capable of managing this type of things?
So desktop, we can do multiple units of measure. So I can buy in one unit and it will actually put that on the purchase order, for instance, that I need this unit type or size or whatever, right? So I need a case. But if we need to count how many individual units we have, it will make that distinction when we turn on the multiple unit of measure option in the preferences. And then we can actually keep up with those, and we can assign more than one. So if I'm buying in cases and I need to sell in eaches, if I'm buying in like a pallet and I still need to sell it in eaches, as long as I know how many are on the pallet or how many are in the case, then it will force it in for our count in the each, if that's our base unit of measure. Now, QuickBooks Online, it does the single unit of measure. So if I buy in cases, it's going to reflect in cases.
I see. So that means, Lori, that if I'm using QuickBooks Online, there's no way that I can manage unit of measure. Is that right?
Not in the QuickBooks Online product. There are applications that can and QuickBooks Desktop has them also, but QuickBooks Online has applications that can integrate that would allow that. And we would just want to make sure that that integration is set up right, but then they could actually manage inventory there.
So that means if I have QuickBooks Online, I can either move to the desktop version that manage the multiple unit of measure, or I can evaluate if a third-party software can handle that for me and see if it works better that way. But that's a decision that they're gonna have to make, evaluate, and make the right decision, right?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Lori. Let's move on to the next question. And look, this is a very frequent question due to the situation we're experiencing right now, the supply shortage. And the question is this: how can I manage and reorder low-level inventory? Because due to this situation going on, they cannot find product. I mean, and sometimes what it usually takes to order 1 month, now it's taking 3 months or 6 months, and they gotta keep up with this. So again, the question is, how can I manage and reorder low-level inventory in QuickBooks Online or desktop?
So in the desktop version, we can establish reorder points by site even. So we can establish a reorder point, but we can also do it by site. So if there are certain locations that sell more, right, we can do that. But the reorder points now, what we're finding is we have to work with the clients to say, okay, we're now going to have to factor in an additional lead time, which that's going to depend on product. And then the stock status reports in desktop allow us more visibility on when we need to reorder, because it's going to allow us to see, right, this is what we have on hand, this is what we have, especially if we're using the sales orders and purchase orders in desktop, to see what we've promised the customers versus what we've ordered and what we have on hand. And if we have the reorder point where it's including a little extra time, then it'll allow us to see when we need to order new items. Now, online, it's a little bit different. The reports are a little, I mean, we can do the stock status report, or we can do it, an inventory evaluation summary to see what we have on hand. And we can kind of factor in and make some notes on when we need to reorder, but it is just a little bit different in the online version. But we have worked with clients and helped them utilize that, but the reorder points are crucial, especially right now.
Oh yeah. And the reorder point, is it available in all the desktop version or just in certain versions?
No, it's in all the desktop versions.
Oh, okay. And now, is there a way to set up alerts that notify me when a product has reached the lowest inventory level?
So it's not going to set up an actual alert, but you can set reminders up in desktop. One of the preferences to, to do some of the automation for you. So you can actually do it where it'll say, hey, go check the report. And then you can go in and look at it. We've usually helped clients with those processes on how do we make sure that we're keeping up with it. But it is going to be an automatic, like it's not going to say, hey, you need to reorder this one because we went down, but the report will.
And it makes sense. It makes sense because if they have I don't know, so many SKUs and they put the reorder point and they start sending alerts, they're gonna start getting so many alerts and they're gonna get all confused. Right. So I guess it's better to set up, and that's what I understood, Lori. You can set up an alert that can tell, hey, look, today at 5 p.m., make sure you check the reorder level for all the items, so that way you can start making decisions to reorder to your vendors. That's the way. Those are the type of alerts that can be set up in quick. Do I need something else to set that up, or you can do it in directly in QuickBooks.
So there's like a calendar and a to-do. So you can actually set your calendar up for notifications, and each person would do their own calendar so they can set their own reminders so they're not getting everybody else's reminders.
Wow, that's interesting. I didn't know that you have that functionality in QuickBooks. Perfect. Thank you, Lori. Let's move on to the next question. Okay. Can I handle multiple warehouses with QuickBooks Online? And I believe you already answered that question previously. But look,
Yeah.
I have heard some companies that tell me that they have been able to handle multiple inventories in QuickBooks Online. And I was wondering, I mean, how they're doing it, because when I talk to them, they say, look, Frank, I'm already figured that out, that I can manage multiple warehouses in QuickBooks Online. So that's why we brought this question, because I'm not sure if that's possible or they're just find a workaround.
Probably a workaround. We've done it before with clients too, and the applications. So there are quite a few inventory applications out there that can integrate that will allow. So we would have to, I mean, I would be curious to see, right, what they are doing right now. But it is a single, it's like this units of measure, it's single. But I do, I mean, it would not surprise me if that isn't something that changes, because I know that the online is definitely like hot right now, right? With a lot of people using it because it's so easy.
Oh yeah, and I believe that's the one of the strategy of QuickBooks to start moving pretty much everybody from the desktop versions to the online version. But there is still a long way to go, because the functionality that they have on the online versus the desktop, it's quite different though. It's quite different.
Platforms are definitely different, and we see, I mean, so before I came to Fourlane, I was actually using QuickBooks Online in my previous world, right? And just looking at what it was then to what it is now, it has definitely, I mean, the improvements are just phenomenal.
I see, and I believe they're going to continue, adding more options as more companies are joining or using QuickBooks Online. Somehow they're going to be forced to start adding more features that are on demand for this specific customer. Thank you, Lori, and let's move on to the next question. Well, this is a very, very important question, Lori, in specifically for business owners. How do I know how much money in inventory I have in the warehouse? Is this doable on the desktop, on the online?
Yes, so on the desktop version, what you see here in the image is actually we can choose. So this is our inventory valuation summary, right, where it shows how much we have on hand, what the, which is our count, plus it also will evaluate what the dollar value is there, but we can limit, I mean, we can actually drill in and separate it out by a physical location, or maybe even more than one. But when you're looking at it, so let's say I have where they're taking the product on a truck, I need to know how much is on that truck, right? So, and sometimes we have to place orders so that each truck stays with that same amount of inventory. This allows us to see what the value is on the truck, how much they actually have, as long as when we're doing our invoices, right, that we're actually pulling from the right location.
I see. So that means, Lori, that I can have my DSD, my truck drivers, and assign it specifically, I would say, virtual warehouse to that truck driver and keep the inventory under that site. Is that doable in QuickBooks desktop or the
Yes.
online as well? No,
well,
the
if
online.
if they're using, like I said, if again, we can work through things, but let's say that they're using an application to help with the inventory, and that application has the multiple sites, they can do the same thing. But this one right here is what's in the desktop. And we have worked with clients where they do keep a set amount of inventory in each truck, and they need to know when to replace that inventory because it got used. And instead of having to go through what did I sell today, right? If we're utilizing the sites, then it will actually, we can pull the report up and it will show what they currently have. And then we can place orders accordingly for those individual sites if we need to.
Okay, definitely. Look, keeping a lot of inventory in the warehouse is so expensive nowadays. It's even more. So that's why this question is so critical. Nowadays, we see, you know, how larger companies focus on keeping the least amount of inventory without affecting supplying customer with the product. So I have this question that is always in my mind. How often do you suggest doing physical inventory counts so that this report has a real information? Because remember, this is where my money is. And if I don't have the right information right there, it's not going to make any sense for the business owner. So how often do you suggest to do physical inventory?
So one of those factors is going to be if we are finding that our inventory is off a lot, we're probably going to need to do them more often, but we also need to identify why the inventory is off. If we are doing the transactions in the system real time and they're accurate, our inventory in QuickBooks should be accurate, right? It should match. So if they're coming up where they're off a lot, we're going to go in and look and see what their processes are because something's broken most often. QuickBooks Desktop has cycle counts. And so I always recommend to my clients to do those. We used to, I mean, in my prior life, before Fourlane, we used to do cycle counts regularly. One, it gives people something to do when they're if they're having some downtime. But it allows us to double check and make sure our counts are accurate, right? So it gives us some confidence in the numbers that we're seeing in the system versus what is real.
I see. Hey, look, in the scenarios that I have truck drivers, that each of the truck driver is a virtual warehouse. So in that cases, the physical inventory that I'm going to be doing for each of the truck, it could be daily, weekly, based on how often they're going out. But in that case, what is the easiest way to do the physical inventory? Through an Excel import? Is there any complement in QuickBooks to do like within a scanner or something like that, or an Excel sheet import would be the best way of doing it?
QuickBooks Desktop does have this barcoding and scanning capabilities, and there's a couple of things you can do. You can just do the standard barcode scan, or there's like a site order fulfillment option for the purchasing side as well as the sales side that you can use those. I'm not a fan of entering a bunch of stuff in a spreadsheet and importing if there's a way to do it, with the system. Now, we can import them in. There are usually tools that you're going to need to do that, but there are definitely ways to bring them in if we need to. But if we can do the barcoding, that's what I would start with.
And that's something that could be handled in a different version of the desktop, QuickBooks Desktop, or is it specifically in a version of the desktop?
Yeah, so in Enterprise has the barcoding and the barcode wizard in there. So we can set that up, and you can print the barcodes off in Enterprise also, so that as long as you have the right scanner and the right barcode printer, you can use those.
Okay, perfect. And these are the things that a lot of our customers don't know, that they can take advantage of those things that they already have on the versions of QuickBooks that they're using. So this is pretty much what we have with the questions. I am so happy that we have Lori, and now we can move on. Tara, thank you so much, Lori.
Welcome.
Okay, perfect. So now it's time to boost your sales. And how we're gonna do this? Look, before I start talking about how we're gonna help you boost your sales, let me tell you a little bit about Orders in Seconds. Well, Orders in Seconds, it's a company that has been in business for more than 15 years. And actually what we do is this, we specialize in helping wholesale distributors optimize sales efficiency and save money. This is what we've been doing for the last 15 years. And now how we're gonna help you boost your sales. This is the thing. Once we have set the fundamental accounting structure in an inventory using the correct version of QuickBooks, and that's why we were so excited to give you this information to select the right QuickBooks that is going to give you what you actually need. It is time to focus on increasing sales. And how we're going to do that? If you have a company that is in the distribution business, you must have sales rep in the field that are placing orders, right? Or you may have direct store delivery, which are the truck drivers that are carrying the merchandise in the truck and are using some type of mobile printer and are invoicing customers in the field. Or maybe you are receiving orders from your customers through emails, messages, and faxes. And this is where OIS is the perfect complement to increase sales, since Orders in Seconds is specialized to facilitate the order taking for the sales rep in the field. So let's imagine this scenario. You're using QuickBooks, either the desktop or the online version, and you already have sales rep in the field. What we're gonna do is this. We're gonna interact with QuickBooks and have the ability for the sales rep to create any transaction from the field. You are the one who decide what type of transactions they create from the field, a sales order, an invoice, a payment, whatever you allow them to do from the field. Same thing with the DSD drivers, right? If there are invoicing customers from the field, we can actually set up the inventory that they're gonna take out during the day, during the week, and instead of doing paper invoices, they can use the mobile app, as you're seeing right here, and they can go ahead and create invoices directly from the spot. Have those invoices, print them out with mobile scanners, and all those invoices that you're creating from the field automatically will be synchronized to QuickBooks, so that way you don't have to be entering all those invoices manually into QuickBooks. And the other thing is this: if you have customers that are usually sending you orders through emails, WhatsApp, some of them are using faxes, right? So if that is the case, look, we can easily empower your customers using a mobile app in their mobile phone, in their tablet, whatever device that they have, and they're gonna be able to see, your availability of the item. Also see only their own pricing, whatever pricing structure that you have already set up in QuickBooks. That's exactly what they're gonna see, and they can order at any time. Once they, once they create the order, they send it over and it's synchronized to QuickBooks. So by doing this, we're gonna help you accelerate the order process, making sure that all the orders are coming correctly to QuickBooks, and that's how we can help you basically boost your sales. And again, guys, the thing is, make things really easy, keep it really simple. And once you have everything ready, I mean, it's time to do it really easy. We're gonna finish with this. I hope this information that I've given you generates added value to your business. And at the end, Lori and I will be answering questions, because I know, we just briefly talk about the integration. But if you guys have questions about how we can integrate it, what type of sales channels we can use in order to facilitate the order taking, I will be more than happy to give you answers.
Okay.
Clara?
Yes, Frank, and that's perfect segue to our Q&A. But before we start our Q&A today, I just want to thank Frank and Lori for such a great presentation. And Lori, I just want to say we really appreciate you sharing all your tips and wealth of knowledge with our customers, because I feel like now they understand a little bit better of how to manage their inventory on QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online. And now I just want to show you, and then Frank too, he did an awesome job, letting them know what our OIS is about. Guys, let's show them some love. A big round of applause for our speakers, okay? Fingers to the camera. Or, light up that chat. Let them know how great of a job they did answering your questions. Okay. Jamie says thanks. Thanks to you guys. Thank you guys for that presentation. And now while you guys are doing that, we're going to start our Q&A session. Okay. If you guys have any questions, and I already have we got a lot during the presentation. So I'm going to be going through those one at a time. We're going to start from the top. I think Wilson was the first one, and then we're going to go down. And Sharon, don't worry. I know you entered a question there at the end. I'll get to that one too. I'll get to both of them. All right. And then look at this chat, guys. It's a great speakers. Good job, guys. Thank you for all the presentations. Thank you, Lori and OIS. It was very informative, very useful information. Thank you for your time and info. Yes, this is what we want to see in that chat, because this is for you guys. All right, so let's get started with the Q&A now. So Wilson Zulaga, his question is, on the credit memos, is there a way to create a different bin location for inventory for all the credit memos to be stored? Should I ask it again? On the credit memos, is there a way to create a different bin location for inventory from all credit memos to be stored?
Well, you can create a bin location if you have it turned on. My question would be, why would we want to create a bin location for the credit memos? Is it so that we could do some QC to make sure it can go back into inventory, or are we just trying to keep up with how many of them are there? Yes, we can, but I don't know about there's just some uncertainty there.
Let me add a little bit about the question, Clara. I guess the question is, remember when you do a credit memo, if you're getting a damaged product, that product is not going to go to the inventory. So you want to keep control of what are the damaged products, and I guess it's separated in a different location, so that way you know how much money you're losing on those damaged products. I guess that question is going on that direction. Is that doable? Well, the first question is that doable on QuickBooks Desktop or in the online? Lori is the one.
So on the bin and location, online will not have that capability at this point. Desktop does if it's turned on and you have the correct enterprise version. There is a way to do it where it doesn't go into inventory. So if we needed to create an item that says damaged product or whatever, I'm going to use that one because that one's kind of what we're talking about. You can still issue the credit against that item. You can still run reports on that item to see how many you've had, how much, and then obviously we're mapping it to possibly a damaged item, cost of goods account or something like that. There are ways to do that without it impacting your inventory.
Okay,
if that's the goal.
All right. Okay, so Wilson, if that answered your question, just let us know yes in the chat, okay? Or if you had a follow-up, let us know too. All right, I'm going to go on to the next question, okay? This is from Alexander Pereira. On the credit memos, is there, oh, I'm so sorry, that's not the question. Alex, I got to get your question. Hold on. I think your question was in the chat. While they're answering another question, I'll go back to Alex's, okay? So Vivian, she had, how can I combine the actual warehouse inventory management in QuickBooks? That's her question. How can I combine with the actual warehouse inventory management in QuickBooks? Does that, or is it, you know what? Should I unmute Vivian? Maybe we should do that to see if they can further clarify. Let's see. All right, let's see. Vivian, you can go ahead and unmute yourself, and maybe you can just clarify your question. Vivian?
Okay, it looks like she may not have a speaker because I think that's what it just populated. I'm gonna answer what I think the question is, and then if it's not, So if you're talking about getting started with taking what you currently have and putting that into QuickBooks, absolutely we can. If it's a scenario where you're doing it in another system and then moving that into QuickBooks, we have to look at what you're currently doing to make the best decision on how to bring it in. But usually it's doable. I mean, I have not had a client yet that we have not been able to do that with, but it would help knowing a little more of what is driving the question, I think.
Okay, unfortunately, Vivian, I don't think she can hear us or answer for, but if you have another question, just type it in the chat, Vivian. I hope that answered your question. If not, we can type it in the chat. And Alexander, I see your question. You wrote it again. I got it. I got you, Alexander. All right, the next question is, how can I create a credit memo for expired or damaged products without adding these items back to the inventory?
So that's where we would, oh, I'm sorry, Claire. No, you're fine. It's on me. So we would want to create an item, like a non-inventory item, for instance, for damaged or expired products. And then you can create the credit memo, or we can remove them from inventory, right, and apply it that way. So if it's a credit memo because it's returned, or if we're just, which is one way to do the item and apply it that way. If it's removing the inventory because it's expired, then that could be an inventory adjustment, or, well, more than likely an inventory adjustment, but it just depends on what you're trying to do.
Okay, and then he had a follow-up. He said that you said this is not available in QuickBooks Online. However, is there a way we can differentiate the return and the damaged product in credit memos?
It's going to be the same. What's not in online right now is the multiple locations, but you can do a return because you can just do a credit, I mean, a vendor credit or a credit memo, right? Credit memos on the customer side, vendor credits on the vendor side, but we can do those in both products. It's the locations that we have. And so if I misstated that, or if there's some confusion, whichever way it was, I apologize for that. But we can do the same thing. We can create a damaged item. We just have to know, right, when we're returning it. And maybe it was that we're not available QuickBooks Online for the expiration dates. I don't know. But we can still do the returns and remove the inventory if it's outdated. We just create an item so that it's not going back into inventory.
Okay, Alexander, I hope that answered your question. We're going to go on to the next question. He said, all right, thank you. All right, so next we're going to go on to a question from Sharon Custer. For e-commerce with multiple warehouses and sales channels, is it better to use QuickBooks Desktop or QuickBooks Online with inventory management app?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that again?
So she said for e-commerce with multiple warehouses and sales channels, is it better to use QuickBooks Desktop or QuickBooks Online, right, with inventory management app?
So that decision is going to be based upon what the applications are. We actually have some and what their end goal is. Both of them are going to do, if you're using an additional system with online to do the management, we would want to make sure that that's set up right and that the reports are there, just like we do with desktop, to make sure that you have the right product. But if it's a scenario where, because we've done that with other clients where they've come to us and desktop is usually our first choice if they have to have the inventory management. But if their application and their need requires where the online's a better fit, we're going to do that. We just want to make sure they're set up right. So I'm not going to be able to say it's going to be this one or that one based on their need. Most of the time, we're going to put them in desktop. But there have been instances where we have changed that just because of their unique situation.
Gotcha. So
let me add a little bit about that topic. Right now, if you guys are thinking on e-commerce B2B, meaning that the customers are going to be placing orders, we have existing customers that are using QuickBooks Online, and basically they have, the main warehouse with the inventory, and they say, I'm going to allow my, I don't know, the supermarket, the restaurants to place orders. Basically, we just do the synchronization. They can use any mobile phone, tablet, and being able to generate the orders, and those orders get sent out to QuickBooks Online, and it deduct the inventory once it reach QuickBooks. So if they're thinking it that way, it could be the online or the desktop version. But if you're thinking like that, you have multiple companies, like in this case, you have one in New York and another in Miami, just to say something. So in that case, you're gonna need the enterprise version, because it manages multiple warehouses, and you can say, look, these customers are gonna be ordering to the Miami side, and this one is gonna be ordering to the New York side. So in that scenario, you're gonna need the QuickBooks Desktop. But if you're thinking just to enable your customers to place the orders with mobile app, that could be the desktop and the online version. I don't know if that was the specific question, but I wanted to add a little bit of if that it was going on that direction.
Okay, well, thank you for that clarification too. And guys, don't worry, stay for the special gift. Okay, don't worry, just stay for the special gift. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so Sharon also had a follow-up question. What's the maximum data QuickBooks Desktop can host? Maximum data.
If we're talking file size, there isn't really a maximum, but there are some guidelines that we usually say once it gets past. And again, it's going to depend upon the product, right? Because Pro, Premier, and Enterprise have different kind of where we kind of look at it. File size is really large. And we usually recommend, like an Enterprise, for instance, that it, like 1.5 gig once it. And we've seen some that are very big. Like I actually had one yesterday that was almost 3. And they were fine until a few weeks ago. And then they started noticing some things. So it's going to depend upon what's in the file, right? But the file size can get to where there's some, you may see a few little hiccups on the desktop side. If we see where the transaction count per day is large, and this is for online and desktop. If the transaction count reaches a certain point, which, depends again on the product, but we may recommend that you look at something else.
Okay, all right, thank you, Lori. All right, next question, Alan Perez. I know we have more questions coming through the chat. I'm just going in order straight down, so we're gonna try to get as many as possible, okay? But Sharon says, big thank you, Lori and Frank, thank you. All right, and now Alan Perez, this is his question. How can I approach a negative inventory and huge inventory numbers on QuickBooks that has been going on for years? What is the best way to start cleaning the system? So how can I approach a negative inventory and huge inventory numbers on QuickBooks that have been going on for years? What is the best way to start cleaning the system?
So Fourlane has a process that we do to actually take out negative from the very first instance, because QuickBooks doesn't like it at all. When we do have clients that have the negative inventory regularly, we usually want to sit with them and say, what is your current process? Because negative inventory isn't real, right? I mean, it usually means we're putting it in one number and taking it out in another one, or maybe we're not putting it in at all and then taking it out. So most of the time it can indicate a process challenge, in which case we want to go through that and find out where the gap is. But I usually recommend, if it is a scenario where they go ahead and allow the negative, that you check it at least monthly, and then identify why they're negative and then correct those. I think I answered the question.
Okay, Alan, if that was the answer for your question, just write yes in the chat for me. Okay, and then moving on to the next question, Anne McCain. How does QuickBooks Desktop Enterprise distinguish between raw, WIP or WIP, and FG inventory levels? And is the data real time? How does that data relate to incoming customer orders to drive order reorder points to drive reorder
Okay.
points.
So that's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot.
That's a lot to unpack there. Okay. We could do it one step at a time. No worries.
So assemblies are a feature in desktop. Okay. Assembly is like a bill of material. So we can have the raw material inventory, and then it moves. And if we set up an assembly or a bill of material, what will happen is we do a build inside of QuickBooks where it relieves the raw material and moves it to a finished product. As long as each step is done to mirror what's happening on the floor, your data in QuickBooks should be as real time as those transactions. Okay. If you're waiting to do the assembly builds at the end of the week, then your inventory will be off until those builds are done. And what was the other part of the question?
Okay.
Sorry.
Let's see. No, it's okay. How does that data relate to incoming customer orders to drive reorder points?
Okay. So the finished product, which is the assembly, once that goes out, then the inventory is relieved for that finished good. Okay. Now, I have done things with WIP before, depending on how long it goes from the start to the finish. That's usually a process discussion that we have. But for the reorder points, that would be established at the assembly level, whereas the components would be established at the raw good, right? So that you know. And then we've worked with clients too to how do I know if I have this many assemblies, when to reorder, and that sort of things, if there's exceptions there. So it's doable. It just understanding the process.
Okay, all right. So thank you so much, Lori, for that. And now, guys, this is going to be, I just want to mention Luis Fernando, Martha, I saw your question come in. Wilson, you had a follow-up question. No worries. We're going to take these questions and Lori will answer them directly. Okay, so don't worry. I'm going to not jot those questions down. But just for sake of time, because we're keeping this webinar within an hour, we're going to continue with our presentation. But just you see, you guys are going to love this next part. We have a special gift, yay, for all you, special thank you for all the attendees of the webinar today. You get a free 30-minute consult with Lori. How great is that, guys? You know, light up that chat. Tell me how great it is. Who's interested in meeting with Lori? Yep, type Lori interested. If you guys want to set up a consult, a free 30-minute consult, she can reach right out to you, okay? Just write Lori interested in the chat for me and we'll make sure that she reaches out to you. And make sure to take advantage of this offer because it's available only today. You know, you guys have those specific questions that you guys are keeping you up at night. You know, we're going to start the new year. We want to start your business. You know, you want to get your business up and running as smoothly, especially with inventory for this next year. Take advantage of the 30-minute consult. So make sure you either email Lori to her email, which is lwash@fourlane.com. Make sure to mention OIS QuickBooks webinar, okay? Or we make it easy. Just write, yes, Lori interested in the chat, okay? Because we want to make sure that you guys take advantage of this deal. This is for you. I'm not trying to sell this or have a hard sell, guys, even though it may sound that way. It's not at all. The reason you're in this webinar today is because you wanted more help on managing your inventory. And Lori is going to give you guys 30 minutes of her time. You know, even if you don't know what to ask, just let her check your inventory. Just let, you know, give her the username and password. Let her check it out, and then she'll be able to give you guys some tips, you know, because sometimes I know you don't know what to ask and things like that, but she's great. She's awesome. So you guys will love meeting with her, okay? And then now, if you guys want to connect with our speakers, here's their contact information, okay? We have Lori if you guys want the 30-minute consult. I see you guys are blowing up the chat already. Interested? Yes, Alan, that's what we want to hear. Put me down, Wilson and Vivian, I see. Also, Felipe, I see you just said, Felipe said, help us, LOL. I love that. She will help you, Felipe. She will, promise. All right. Well, there's her email. If you have just a quick question or you have a phone number, you have a quick question for her, you have her phone number there. And then if you were interested in learning about more about how to boost your sales and the integration between um, QuickBooks and our OIS mobile solutions, make sure to reach out to Frank. You can write, let's show Frank some love. You can put Frank interested in the chat, and then he'll reach out to you directly too. You have his email here, his phone number and extension, and his WhatsApp for your convenience, okay? And guys, also drop them a line on LinkedIn. Everyone's connecting through LinkedIn now, so make sure to drop them a line, let them know how well they did on this presentation. And if you guys have any questions, right, it's a great way to connect. So okay, and then now I just wanna end this presentation by telling you guys, thank you everyone who attended this presentation, everyone, Maury, Frank, all the attendees, the OIS customers, the clients. We want to continue to have webinars like this with you guys today because we know that it's going to help your business succeed. And if we win, if you guys win, we all win, right? So that's the deal. So please keep in mind, we're going to have upcoming webinars too. So just, look out for those. And thank you guys so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure. And don't worry, the people that didn't get their questions answered, you will. I'm going to make sure that Lori gets them, okay? All right, so round of applause. And you guys could say thank you through the chat. All right, thank you guys for being here so much, okay? Have a great holiday too, everyone.